Miss Yarodabersia.
Ave Satana! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
Greetings, heathens. Welcome to Hail Satan. This is the podcast exploring Satanism, culture, and life in general through the eyes of modern Satanists. My name is Joseph Rose. I'm a member of the finest congregation in all the land. We're called Satanic Delco, and we welcome members from anywhere in the world. If you want to learn a little more, visit satanicdelco.com. Today, we're going to dive into the topic of satanic holidays. This has been one of the most requested episode topics since the very beginning of the podcast. But before we do that, let me welcome some wonderful people that have chosen to join up with us all on Patreon recently. We've got Daytona, Kevin, Jessica, Sarah, Uncle Bingo, Savannah, Brian, Roger, Kayla, Blackheart666, Amanda, Jess, and Jessica. Guys, thank you so much for your continued support and participation. It means a lot to me, and I hope that some part of our community can prove to be meaningful to you. Thank you. If you all have a moment out there, please visit the website at hailsatanpodcast.com. You'll find links to join me on social media, a form to send me an email, which I encourage you to do, and a link to join up with us all on Patreon. We have a few different tiers to choose from there with various benefits, including the amazing Greetings from Hell Satanic Postcard of the Month Club. That is the most direct way you can support me and this show if you'd like to do that. Visit hailsatanpodcast.com. All right, let's talk about satanic holidays, and also some things that are not satanic holidays. Our context for the discussion will mainly be the Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple, and outsider Satanism. Let's begin with the Church of Satan. They have a page on their website that asks, "What holidays do Satanists celebrate?" Allow me to read from that section. Since Satanism is a self-centered religion, the highest holiday of the year would be the Satanist's own birthday, which needs no ritual but should be spent doing things a Satanist would enjoy. There is no requirement that a Satanist celebrate any holidays, and there are no hard and fast traditions or rites associated with them. I agree with all of that. That sounds good to me. Let's continue. Since Satanism embraces nature, the other holidays a Satanist might choose to celebrate would be the seasonal turning points marked by the equinoxes and solstices, the dates of which vary from year to year, as well as the midpoints between these, which can be recognized as the climaxes of each season. In particular, April 30th, called Walpurgisnacht, is the spring climax of the anniversary of the founding of the Church of Satan and is generally noted. Halloween, October 31st, is the fall climax and may be celebrated as a time when one's inner self might be explored through the use of a costume, or one might recall those of importance in one's life who have died, as was done on that night in European tradition. That's a lot of words. Is it just me, or is that a lot of words? That also sounds pretty good to me. We'll touch on April 30th some more as we go. And as for the bit at the very end there, I'm not European, I have no connection to that tradition, and I've never known anyone who incorporates that into their Halloween celebration. But if you do, cool. The site goes on to ask, what about the Christmas holiday? It says, the Christians stole this holiday from the pagans. Santa Claus has come to signify indulgence, and he is a combination of Dionysus and Silenus from Roman and Greek myths. The Romans celebrated the orgiastic Saturnalia at this time. The Nazarene has little place in the general public celebrations of this season, which were meant by pagans to be celebrations of abundance during a season of cold and emptiness. So for the Yule holiday season, we enjoy the richness of life and the company of people whom we cherish, as we will often be the only ones who know where the traditions really came from. All right. They mention some Christian stuff, they mention some pagan stuff, and neither of those things are Satanism. At the end there, it says, we enjoy the richness of life and the company of people whom we cherish, which sounds reasonable and nice. I like that. And finally, the site asks, is Halloween important to Satanists? It says, we see this holiday as the night when the mundane folk try to reach down inside and touch the darkness, which for Satanists is a daily mode of existence. Particularly in the United States, Halloween is a time for celebrating monster films, wearing costumes of a macabre nature, and evoking the thrill of fun fear. Children of all ages can indulge their fantasies by donning costumes that allow for intense role-playing and the release of their demonic cores, the parts of their personalities often hidden from their friends, co-workers, and families. There we go. That's classic Church of Satan, continuing on in the style of Anton LaVey with some perfectly good ideas and information with a little bit of cringy, edgy bullshit sprinkled on top. Let's continue. Though there are traditions making this an occasion for recalling the dead, it has been popularized as a time to play with what historically were fears directed toward what were thought to be unquiet spirits of the departed. And the grand traditional question, trick or treat, has become a means for fulfilling an indulgence in sweets without the need to resort to the optional coercion. Satanists embrace what this holiday has become and do not feel the need to be tied to ancient practices. I like the sound of that. This night, we smile at the amateur explorers of their own inner darkness, for we know that they enjoy their brief dip into the pool of the shadow world. We encourage their tenebrous fantasies, the candied indulgence, and the wide-ranging evocation of our aesthetics, while tolerating some of the chintzy versions, even if it is but once a year. For the rest of the time, when those not of our meta-tribe shake their heads in wonder at us, we can point out that they may find some understanding by examining their own All Hallows Eve doings, but we generally find it simpler to just say, think of the Addams Family, and you'll begin to see what we're about. And there you have it. More of the same from the old warlock gang at Church of Satan, some good bits, and plenty of very silly business in there as well. Let's move on and take a look at the holidays of the Satanic Temple. They currently have 5 holidays. First up is Lupercalia. TST describes this as a celebration of bodily autonomy, sexual liberation, and reproduction. Based on the Roman festival of the same name, Lupercalia falls on February 15th. In keeping with the ancient tradition, February 13th and 14th are observed as feast days leading up to the actual holiday. What we are translating this to in TST is a Hail Yourself Day. This idea offers a parallel to the others-centered traditions of Sol Invictus. So, let me break this down in layman's terms. This is just TST's branding of Valentine's Day. They selected a Roman festival that has nothing at all to do with Satanism. They removed all of the actual wild traditions that were part of it, kept the exact same name, and just call it a satanic holiday. If you want to celebrate Valentine's Day, go ahead. Do I care about it? I do not. Next is April 30th, which TST calls Hexanacht. This is an occasion honoring those who fell victim to superstition and pseudoscience, whether by witch hunt, satanic panic, or other injustices. In Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Faust, a Tragedy, Mephisto and Faust attend the Walpurgisnacht revelry atop Mount Brocken. TST's Hexanacht is a solemn holiday to honor those who were victimized by superstition. All right. Hexanacht is a term that translates from German to Witches' Night. And of course, they placed it on the obvious date, April 30th, sometimes called the Witches' Sabbath, or as we've already gone over, Walpurgisnacht. The most relevant thing about April 30th, and the thing that connects it to Satanism, is that it is the very day that Satanism was founded back in 1966. That's sort of a big deal, right? Yet TST doesn't make any mention of it because that would require acknowledging Anton LaVey or the Church of Satan. So you can celebrate a fictional work on that date if you'd like, and you can call it a solemn day if you want to be a bummer about it. Personally, I choose to celebrate the birthday of Satanism because fuck yeah, hail Satan. Next up is July 25th, which TST calls Unveiling Day. It is a celebration of religious plurality and shedding archaic superstition. A centerpiece of our religious movement and icon of modern Satanism, the Baphomet with Children statue was commissioned by the Satanic Temple in 2014 and created by Mark Porter with respect for diversity and religious minorities in mind. On July 25th, 2015, the Satanic Temple unveiled Baphomet to a large crowd of devotees in Detroit, signaling the beginning of the new Satanic era. We observe this milestone in Satanic history by celebrating Unveiling Day. That is quite a grandiose description. There's not very much to say about this one. It just happened to be the date that TST had a party in Detroit and showed off their oddly breastless Baphomet statue. It's a perfectly nice statue if you don't mind the fact that they removed the breasts to cater to a wider public audience. Is the date of their statue party deeply significant to Satanists or Satanism? It doesn't mean anything to me, but if you want to celebrate the date of their Detroit party, more power to you. That brings us to October 31st, Halloween. TST describes this as a holiday to celebrate indulgence and embrace the darkness and its aesthetic. Halloween is consistently described as evil, demonic, and satanic by those steeped in religious dogma. Costumes, candy, and facing fears are to be embraced. I'm all good with this. I have witnessed the opposition to Halloween by those steeped in religious dogma, and I can understand this obvious connection to Satanism. Halloween is on my list, and TST did a fine job of making a connection there. And the last one for TST is December 25th, which they call Sol Invictus. It is described as a celebration of being unconquered by superstition and consistent in the pursuit and sharing of knowledge. The cult of Sol existed within Rome since its early days as a republic, and Invictus was an epithet used for Jupiter, Mars, and Apollo, among others. The festival celebrated these gods and may have also been used to celebrate the winter solstice. Guys, I'm not trying to be a wise ass here, but I don't even know what this is. On the day that some intern at TST sat down to make up their holidays, they just looked up old Roman holidays and other vaguely occult-related things and decided to go with those, even if it didn't make any sense, for the sake of having satanic versions of holidays that people already celebrate. First, it says that this day is about being unconquered by superstition. But they already said Unveiling Day was about shedding archaic superstition. And speaking of archaic superstition, they literally named the holiday after a fictional deity. Sol Invictus is a Roman sun god who, by the way, is not real. So there you have it. If you'd like to celebrate an ancient Roman deity on Christmas, TST has a day for you. So let's recap to collect the good parts that we can take with us. The Church of Satan said Satanism is a self-centered religion. The highest holiday of the year is the Satanist's own birthday, which needs no ritual but should be spent doing things a Satanist would enjoy. There is no requirement to celebrate any holidays. and there are no hard and fast traditions or rites associated with them. As I said, I like all of that. If you had to nitpick anything, you might say that the phrase self-centered can have a bit of a negative connotation. But the reality is that your life, nearly by definition, is centered around you. Being centered on the self does not inherently mean neglectful or selfish or anything like that. So I'm down with all of that. And outsider Satanism shares that outlook on the importance of one's own birthday, as well as the fact that there are no rules or requirements to celebrate or not. I also like acknowledging the natural cycles of the seasons, including a climax or high point of the season, like April 30th and Halloween. And as for Christmas, Church of Satan says, we enjoy the richness of life and the company of people whom we cherish. I'm down with that. They also mention that Santa Claus has come to signify indulgence. And while I don't care all that much about Santa Claus, I do feel a bit of the indulgence in Christmas celebrations. As for TST, can we take anything from this wacky list of recycled holidays? They say Halloween is a holiday to celebrate indulgence and embrace the darkness and its aesthetic. Halloween is consistently described as evil, demonic, and satanic by those steeped in religious dogma. Costumes, candy, and facing fears are to be embraced. I can dig all of that, and when the time comes, I will probably expand on it a bit to contextualize it within our outsider Satanism. What about some other things that are not satanic holidays? How about Samhain? Or, if you want to pronounce it properly, it is Samhain. If you spend enough time connected to Satanists and occult stuff on the internet, you will surely see some talk of Samhain. Is this a satanic holiday? No, it is not a satanic holiday. Samhain is a Celtic festival with roots in ancient pagan traditions, particularly those of the Celts in Ireland, Scotland, and other parts of Europe. It marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, as well as a time when the veil between the living and the spirit world was believed to be thin. It does not have, nor has it ever had, any connection to Satanism whatsoever. The same can be said of Yule. Yule is a traditional winter festival that has been celebrated by various cultures throughout history. The term Yule has its origins in Norse and Germanic paganism and is related to the celebration of the winter solstice. The festival marks the shortest day and longest night of the year in the northern hemisphere, usually occurring around December 21st. In Norse mythology, Yule was a time to honor the god Odin and celebrate the return of the sun, as it was believed that the sun was reborn after the solstice. Yule was a time of feasting, drinking, and the exchange of gifts. This all sounds lovely, and if you'd like to celebrate Odin or any of the other stuff, by all means, celebrate. But it has nothing to do with Satanism. And as many episodes do, this one began with some discussion on Satanic Delco's Discord server. I pulled just a couple of messages from those discussions. Ava wrote, I don't give a fuck what people think when it comes to this topic. I am the Satanist who goes 200% for Christmas. I incorporate whatever traditions I like from paganism, cultures that are part of my heritage, and whatever else I like. My family thinks it's a little strange, but I really don't care. It makes me happy. I am neurospicy. I want to decorate and give people presents. And this is really the right answer. Particularly the part where she wrote, I don't give a fuck. Kirsten also touched on that sentiment in these online discussions, specifically as it relates to self-identifying Satanists constantly asking permission from strangers on the internet to celebrate things. Things like, can I still celebrate Christmas and be a Satanist? What if one of the nerds on the internet says no? Are you just going to stop celebrating Christmas? Are you going to stop being a Satanist? Man the fuck up Be yourself and celebrate the way you like to celebrate. If you became a Satanist because you wanted more rules and restrictions in your life, you're doing life all wrong. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, Kirsten. Another one of our members, Core, asked a few questions. She wrote, "What gives meaning to a satanic holiday?" All right. What gives meaning to any holiday is super individualized. The culture that someone grows up in has a lot to do with it. And when I say culture, I mean the specific culture of your upbringing or your life experience. If you have really strong, fond memories of Christmas throughout parts of your life, Christmas is probably going to take on a different meaning for you than for someone that has a bunch of negative experiences and memories of Christmases. But that also works the opposite way, meaning if you did have negative experiences with a holiday during parts of life, some people like to reclaim or take ownership of that holiday and turn it into a positive thing rather than letting negative people or experiences have that power over them forever. And for a group of people like Satanists who take ownership of the name of the most terrible evil force in existence, that feels like a fairly satanic way to go about things. Spin the negative into a positive and use it to your advantage. That's one answer. But if the question is asking about what specifically gives it a satanic connection or meaning, that's a little different. To me, for a holiday to be satanic, there has to be some sort of connection. One example, and this one fits in perfectly with what I was saying about spinning it your way, is Halloween. Lots of squares say that Halloween is evil, demonic, and even satanic. So be it. Because we rebel against these superstitious ideas, it is in fact satanic. And then there's April 30th. The connection is obviously the founding of modern Satanism. So for a holiday to be satanic, to me, there needs to be some connection with Satanism, either the history of Satanism or the values associated with your Satanism. The next question, why are ancient Roman holidays celebrated by some modern Satanists, and what makes those holidays satanic? So first, what makes those holidays satanic is nothing at all. They are definitely not satanic. But the reason why some folks mistakenly attach them to Satanism is a combination of things. One part of it is just honest ignorance. Just like there are countless misconceptions about Satanism out there, and those stories get repeated and shared online, and the bad information makes the rounds. One person who didn't really know shit says, "Yeah, I read this book. It said April 30th is when witches gather in the woods to sacrifice animals or something. It's totally satanic." In a world full of people who believe in virgin births and walking on water, it's not really surprising that some folks will mix up stories, make shit up, and just generally go along with things that aren't true. Another part of it is just that ancient things are old. And when things are really old and maybe not very clearly documented, there's an air of mystery that is pretty attractive. This is how we get stories about ancient aliens building the pyramids. If there were very clear documentation of exactly how the pyramids were built, if we had multiple video camera angles of the pyramids being built, we probably wouldn't need to deal with as much speculation and misinformation. So when a thing is old and mysterious, and you mix that in with people who have an interest in the occult and all the cool imagery and lore, and maybe they lean a little edgy and anti-religious, you get people making any number of connections. And lastly, Core asks, does outsider Satanism have any designated holidays? So don't count this as official outsider Satanism canon just yet, but the obvious things that stand out to me are one's birthday, of course, April 30th, because it is the beginning of modern Satanism, and Halloween. Like I said, at some point I will expand a bit on why those days deserve recognition, but we've covered a bit of it. and I don't feel the need to repurpose every holiday out there. And this is more of a personal one, or one for those of us in Satanic Delco, but February 12th, right around that Valentine's Day time, is the birthday of Satanic Delco. So that's one that I will acknowledge and celebrate in some way. Thank you for the questions, Core. And I can offer what and how I celebrate, if anyone cares about that. Let's make our way through the calendar. First is January. My birthday is in January. So aside from starting a fresh new year, there's a day in there for me to reflect and celebrate my existence. I also love presents, so if anyone wants to give me some for my birthday, that is fantastic. I would like some human skulls and some cannabis if you're looking for ideas. Then we have Valentine's Day, or Lupercalia for TST's intern. I don't particularly care about it, but if I'm with a partner who does seem to care about it, I'm happy to dish out a little extra lovin' that day. Then we have April 30th. This is Satanism's birthday. I don't go out of my way to have any outlandish celebration, but I make mention of it, and I usually end up digging into some old Satanism stuff just for fun, since it's on my mind. Then there is Halloween. I like Halloween for all of the reasons most of us like it. I like the generally spooky vibes. I like that some neighborhoods change and get all decorated with ghosts and gravestones and creepy stuff. I like the idea of facing fears. I've tried in vain to get folks to come skydive with me for the first time on Halloween. Indulgence is a central theme in outsider Satanism, and Halloween is certainly a nice opportunity for that. As far as celebrations go, my favorites have been the Dance with the Devil masquerade ball that Satanic Delco has put on a couple of times now. Perhaps we'll continue to do that in the future. And this is a weird one, maybe, but Thanksgiving. I'm certainly not here to convince you that Thanksgiving is a satanic holiday, but if you live in America, it's sort of hard to ignore this one. And as much as I love and talk about indulgence, the way that overindulgence has been normalized and commodified in relation to this day has always felt a little gross to me, honestly. So, what is the rebellious Satanist to do when the masses all pull up to the trough to stuff their faces with the traditional foods that they've been told they're supposed to eat on this day? Well, I usually fast on Thanksgiving. And in fact, as I sit here, yesterday was Thanksgiving, and I did fast. I don't feel any pressure to do it, and I don't get any reward for it, but I appreciate the mental challenge of it. And of course, the physical benefits of fasting are a nice added bonus. Aside from all of that, Thanksgiving is always a time where I like to reflect on and express what I am actually thankful for in life, like some of the important people in my life, my dogs, my boner, albums like Appetite for Destruction, and YouTube. I'm thankful for YouTube every day. So maybe this one is less of a Satanism thing and more of just a me thing. And then there is Christmas. If you can believe it, I don't really celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, and neither do most people. I'm here for the presents. I like to get them, I like to give them, and I do like to indulge in a bit of the Southern Comfort vanilla spice eggnog, just a little bit. I like to watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I like to have a little extra time off with my son while he gets a break from school. But that's about it, and I think that just about covers the topic of satanic holidays. If you have any questions, if you feel like I've missed anything, please visit the website at hailsatanpodcast.com and let me know. I'd like you to stay safe out there, and hail Satan.
Sto lavano shit in it. Evil free service.